The Lakota Sioux, a Native American tribe with a vibrant cultural heritage, endured a tumultuous history marked by forced relocation to reservations. This dark chapter emerged during the westward expansion of European settlers, igniting fierce conflicts over prized lands and resources. Driven by the U.S. government's desire to secure territory for settlers and expand railroads, policies were aggressively enforced, systematically uprooting Native American communities. A defining moment for the Lakota Sioux came with the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, which established the Great Sioux Reservation. However, external interests, especially the discovery of gold in the Black Hills, soon violated the treaty, leading to the Black Hills War and the iconic 1876 Battle of Little Bighorn. The Lakota Sioux, a Native American tribe with a deeply rooted and vibrant cultural legacy, faced a turbulent past shaped by the brutal reality of forced relocation to reservations. This painful era unfolded as European settlers pushed westward, sparking fierce battles over coveted land and precious resources. The U.S. government, eager to claim territory for settlers and advance railroad development, enforced harsh policies that systematically displaced Native American communities. A turning point in the Lakota Sioux's history came with the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, which established the Great Sioux Reservation. However, the lure of gold in the sacred Black Hills soon shattered the agreement, triggering the Black Hills War and culminating in the legendary 1876 Battle of Little Bighorn. The Lakota are one of the three groups that form the Confederation of the Great Sioux Nation, alongside the Western and Eastern Dakota. The name, Lakota, translates to friends or allies, while Sioux represents this powerful alliance of North American Indian tribes in the Midwest. Renowned for their warrior culture and exceptional hunting skills, the Sioux endured years of warfare, not only with neighboring tribes but also with encroaching white settlers. Despite their prowess in battle and expertise in hunting, they faced continuous conflicts due to the relentless expansion of settlers. Throughout the 1800s, land treaties signed with the U.S. Army were repeatedly violated by the American government, driven by a thirst for gold and other valuable resources on native lands. The relentless breach of treaties and the imposition of policies like the Dawes Act marked a devastating era for the Lakota Sioux. As conflicts continued, events such as the tragic Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890 forced the Lakota further into confinement on reservations. Policies like the allotment system fragmented their tribal lands, and the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota became a symbolic endpoint for many. This reservation, while a testament to historical injustices, also stands out for its profound cultural heritage, deep-rooted traditions, and the resilience of the Lakota Sioux. Today, Pine Ridge serves as a vibrant center for preserving and revitalizing Native heritage, celebrating unique ceremonies, art, and traditions that distinguish it from other reservations. It is predominantly home to the Oglala Lakota, a subgroup of the Lakota Sioux, and houses between 30,000 and 40,000 people. Spanning 2 million acres, approximately the size of Connecticut, Pine Ridge is one of 565 federally recognized Indian nations in the U.S., embodying a rich cultural significance that residents strive to uphold despite enduring hardships. According to data from the nonprofit Remember, Pine Ridge is one of the most impoverished reservations, with an average income of around $4,000 per year and unemployment rates between 80% and 90%. The 2014 U.S. Census Bureau survey reported that over 52% of residents in the largest of Pine Ridge's 3 counties live below the poverty line. Against this backdrop of poverty and high unemployment, public health faces significant challenges. Approximately 80% of the population grapples with alcoholism, and nearly 25% of newborns suffer from fetal alcohol syndrome or related conditions. With a life expectancy of 48 years for men and 52 years for women, Pine Ridge has the second lowest life expectancy in the Western Hemisphere, exceeded only by Haiti and the Caribbean. Rates of diabetes and tuberculosis on the reservation are 8 times the national average, and the risk of cervical cancer is 5 times higher than that of the general U.S. population. While tribal authorities handle crimes committed by Native Americans on the reservation, federal legislation has increasingly limited tribal autonomy over time. The U.S. Census Bureau reports that more than 5 1 million Americans identify as wholly or partially Native American or Alaska Native. Of these, about 2.5 million identify as indigenous, with over half living outside reservations. According to the International Workgroup for Indigenous Affairs, the per capita income in Indian areas is approximately half the U.S. average, and the poverty rate is about 3 times higher, though conditions vary greatly across communities. Pine Ridge, like many other reservations, operates under semi-sovereignty as part of the U.S. federal system. Understanding life on Pine Ridge requires recognizing the historical factors that have shaped it. The intergenerational poverty in Pine Ridge traces back to the colonial past of the United States. Nick Estes, a PhD candidate at the University of New Mexico who focuses on indigenous history and decolonization, argues that neither current nor past political leaders have provided meaningful, long-term solutions for the Lakota or the other 566 federally recognized tribal nations. Estes highlights a legacy of land theft, ethnic cleansing, and treaty violations, which have left deep-seated poverty affecting indigenous communities on and off reservations. He asserts that Native American impoverishment is not due to a failure to advance civilization, but rather as a result of a long history of dispossession and systemic injustice. We were not regarded as poor before the arrival of the colonists. We had much, he contends. At Wounded Knee on December 29, 1890, the U.S. Army carried out one of the bloodiest mass killings against Native Americans in North America. The Lakota, led by Chief Spotted Elk, also known as Chief Bigfoot, were killed by the soldiers for refusing to follow the reservation borders that the U.S. government had imposed. Between 150 to 300 Lakota were killed. The victims were later dumped in a mass grave by hired civilians. President Ulysses Grant's 1869 peace policy began the compulsory enrollment of over 100,000 indigenous people in Christian boarding schools, which persisted until the late 20th century. Children at these institutions experienced a devastating litany of abuses, from forced assimilation, grueling labor to widespread sexual and physical abuse, according to a 2007 Amnesty International investigation. These children were separated from their families. About 200 Oglala Lakota activists and members of the American Indian Movement, a civil rights organization established in 1968, invaded Wounded Knee in 1973 on Pine Ridge in protest of a political crackdown by tribe president Dick Wilson. FBI and other U.S. law enforcement agencies supported Wilson, who had organized a private army to repress dissenters. The protesters requested Wilson's resignation and treaty observance by the U.S. government. Following a 71-day struggle with the authorities, the protesters called off the occupation without getting Wilson to step down. Over the next few years, dozens of opponents of the tribal government were slaughtered. But the U.S. administration remained silent, claiming it had no power to overthrow the despotic ruler. AM activist Leonard Peltier was convicted twice in 1977 of shooting 2 FBI agents in the Pine Ridge village of Oglala. Peltier received 2 consecutive life sentences. Many activists view Peltier as a political prisoner, and Amnesty International and other rights groups have expressed concerns about the fairness of his trial and conviction. It is impossible to understand the structure of settler colonialism as a precondition for that poverty if one does not understand the ways in which native bodies are made poor and are criminalized, claims Estes. Estes connects this history to current poverty, rising rates of police deaths and incarceration, and the intense conditions of colonialism. It goes beyond anything that only occurred in the past. Something that wounds you over and over again cannot heal. There is constant trauma imposed. Life on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation was marked by a series of challenges that impacted various facets of daily living. One of the most pressing issues is economic hardship. The reservation consistently ranks among the poorest areas in the United States, with high unemployment rates and limited economic opportunities. Economic instability on Pine Ridge is further worsened by inadequate infrastructure, limited access to quality education, and a scarcity of essential services. Education on the reservation faces significant challenges, including a shortage of qualified teachers, outdated materials, and a high dropout rate. These obstacles contribute to a cycle of limited educational attainment, raising concerns about the effectiveness of the school system. The repercussions extend beyond the classroom, impacting job opportunities and perpetuating the cycle of poverty. Health disparities also severely affect the community. Chronic illnesses like diabetes and heart disease are more prevalent than the national average, and limited access to healthcare facilities and inadequate health education only exacerbate these issues. Mental health struggles, particularly high rates of depression and suicide, add to the burden on residents, mirroring challenges faced by many Native American communities. With no banks on the reservation and an unemployment rate nearing 85%, Pine Ridge operates as a cash-based economy heavily reliant on government assistance. While entrepreneurship is common, with 83% of the population involved in micro-enterprises, access to financing remains a significant hurdle. Due to the trust status of reservation lands, residents cannot use their land as collateral, which hinders their ability to secure loans for business ventures. To address some of these economic barriers, the Lakota Fund was established in 1986. Inspired by the Grameen Bank of Bangladesh, the fund provides non-collateral loans to micro-enterprises. It enables residents who otherwise might not qualify for business loans to form credit groups and apply for loans together. This system relies on each member's commitment to maintaining a good relationship with the lender, fostering a community-based approach to economic development. Despite these efforts, Pine Ridge continues to face challenges that stem from a history of systemic inequities, highlighting the complex landscape of poverty, health, and opportunity on the reservation. The peer pressure within credit groups made the Lakota Fund system effective, as members encouraged each other to stay compliant. However, the Lakota Fund was ultimately dissolved because it didn't fully align with the cultural values of the Lakota people. For such economic development initiatives to succeed in the future, they must account for the significance of family ties within Lakota culture. While the original Grameen Bank model prohibited family members from joining the same credit group, for the Lakota, the concept of the Tiospe, a kinship network associated with trust and security, is crucial. Though some credit groups eventually allowed family members, the Lakota Fund transitioned to collateral-based financing and was discontinued in 1996 due to challenges with collateral requirements. Addressing the lack of collateral remains a major barrier to economic growth. One solution might involve the U.S. ending its trust relationship with Native American tribes, granting them full ownership of their lands. For the Lakota, restoring the Black Hills could be a step toward healing the cultural and economic damage inflicted by the U.S. government. Alcohol abuse among Native Americans often stems from a combination of social pressures, cultural disconnection, and disparities in how drinking is perceived. Research highlights how poverty-induced deprivation and hopelessness are linked to criminal behavior, despair, suicide, and substance abuse. Unemployment rates are highest among heavy drinkers, suggesting a correlation between economic hardship and alcohol abuse. The path to recovery involves not only addressing addiction but also the broader systemic factors that perpetuate this cycle of hardship. Both American society and Native American communities recognize that the roots of excessive drinking among Native Americans are tied to broader socio-economic issues. Factors such as discrimination, poverty, inadequate housing, and limited educational opportunities create environments where desperation and despair are common. Research indicates that poverty can make risky behaviors, like drug and alcohol abuse, appear more accessible. When combined with a negative self-image and a sense of having nothing to lose, individuals are more susceptible to substance dependency. On Pine Ridge, alcohol is the most prevalent substance of choice, following this pattern. Analyzing drinking behaviors also requires an understanding of the breakdown of social structures and the influence of peer pressure. The erosion of traditional belief systems and socialization mechanisms has led to a loss of cohesive social institutions, resulting in a sense of demoralization within the community. This process of acculturation has left many Lakota men feeling unable to fulfill roles as providers, intensifying feelings of inadequacy and discontent. For some, drinking becomes a means of validating manhood, as participating in risky behaviors often meets societal expectations within peer groups. Consequently, peer pressure fosters a culture of drinking, complicating efforts to abstain and reinforcing harmful cycles within the community. The social acceptance of alcohol is often shaped by influences from both family and peers, particularly among the younger generation. Individuals who strive for abstinence may feel compelled to lead a more isolated life to avoid the temptation to drink. Common deterrents for those choosing sobriety include pressure from others who drink, a lack of support groups, initial feelings of loneliness, and a perceived lack of companionship. The issue of alcohol use among Native Americans is sometimes misunderstood due to externally imposed definitions of alcoholism, which may not align with cultural perspectives. Unlike the drinking habits of non-Native communities, many Native Americans drink impulsively and socially, often in groups, with a rapid pursuit of intoxication. Interestingly, behaviors considered deviant while intoxicated are sometimes excused as being caused by alcohol rather than attributed to the individual. Additionally, due to inconsistent income, drinking is often sporadic, ceasing for days or weeks until money is available to buy more alcohol. For dry reservations like Pine Ridge, the supply of alcohol is a crucial factor. Nearby border towns, like White Clay in Nebraska, have been controversial sources of alcohol for over a decade, enabling and sustaining the drinking culture on the reservation. Alcohol impacts an estimated 80% of households in Pine Ridge, with over half the community struggling with addiction. Alcohol-related deaths are reportedly 300% higher than the national average. Substandard housing conditions exacerbate the challenges, as overcrowding fosters the spread of infectious diseases, and many homes lack essential amenities such as running water and electricity. These infrastructure challenges extend beyond housing. Residents face difficulties accessing healthcare, education, and employment due to unreliable transportation, underscoring the urgent need for infrastructure improvements. Limited access to high-speed internet further isolates the Pine Ridge community, hindering efforts to bridge educational and economic gaps. Despite these challenges, the reservation remains a vibrant center for Lakota culture and traditions. Various cultural events and powwows celebrate traditional dances and music, while community programs preserve the Lakota language, with elders playing a vital role in passing down oral histories and traditional knowledge. The Oglala Lakota's deep connection to the land is evident, as the reservation's vast landscapes include sacred sites central to ceremonies and spiritual practices. Ongoing efforts to protect natural resources and reclaim ancestral lands reflect the enduring cultural bond between the Oglala Lakota and their environment. Amidst these struggles, the people of Pine Ridge demonstrate extraordinary resilience. Community-driven initiatives led by tribal leaders and grassroots organizations strive to address systemic issues and foster positive change. There is a strong commitment to promoting economic development, improving educational opportunities, and enhancing healthcare services, all aimed at building a brighter future for the community. Community support networks are integral to life on Pine Ridge, with extended families and close-knit social circles offering strength and solidarity. Traditional ceremonies and rituals reinforce a sense of identity and provide solace during challenging times. Nonprofit organizations and partnerships with external groups contribute to the community's resilience, supporting initiatives that focus on youth empowerment, cultural preservation, and sustainable development. These efforts aim to break the cycle of poverty and address the root causes of the challenges faced by Pine Ridge residents. Tackling the complex issues at Pine Ridge requires a multifaceted approach, involving collaboration between tribal, federal, and state entities. Culturally sensitive initiatives to improve education, healthcare, and economic opportunities are essential, and education reform remains a key component of empowering the community. Working in partnership with Pine Ridge residents, these efforts must be tailored to respect and integrate Lakota cultural values, ensuring that they resonate with and benefit the community on its own terms. Investments in school infrastructure, teacher training, and curriculum development are essential for breaking the cycle of limited educational attainment on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Culturally relevant education that incorporates Lakota history, language, and traditions is crucial for fostering pride and identity among the youth. Improving healthcare services on the reservation requires addressing both physical and mental health needs. Increased funding for healthcare facilities, mental health resources, and preventive care programs can lead to better health outcomes. Additionally, initiatives that empower community members, such as wellness programs and health education campaigns, can create lasting positive impacts. Economic development efforts should focus on creating sustainable opportunities that align with the cultural values of the Oglala Lakota. Support for entrepreneurship, job training programs, and initiatives that leverage local natural resources can contribute to economic self-sufficiency. Life on the Pine Ridge Native American Reservation represents a complex interplay of historical trauma, cultural richness, and contemporary challenges. Despite significant hurdles, the resilience and strength of the Oglala Lakota people are evident. While efforts to address systemic issues and empower the community are ongoing, the path forward requires a continued commitment to collaboration and respect for the unique cultural identity of the Oglala Lakota. Through a holistic and community-driven approach, there is hope for a brighter future that honors the heritage of Pine Ridge while creating opportunities for future generations. It is important to shed light on the economic, social, and historical factors that have shaped the experiences of the Pine Ridge people. Recognizing the ancillary issues that have influenced the health and culture of the Lakota is critical, particularly regarding alcohol consumption. The U.S. government has permanently altered the economic and health landscape of the Lakota through land dispossession and the disruption of traditional sustenance practices. The integration of the Lakota into American culture has been fraught with challenges, largely due to imposed European ideals and the decline of the *teospaisterisk. Many, although not all, have turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism in the face of poverty and injustice experienced in American reservation life. While there are no simple solutions to these complex issues, the U.S. government bears a clear responsibility. The most equitable way to redress historical wrongs would be to return the Black Hills and all territories specified in the Fort Laramie Treaties to the Great Sioux Nation. This action would not only affirm Native Americans' right to self-determination but also signify that the U.S. is taking accountability for its past misdeeds. The repatriation of the Black Hills would provide the Lakota with substantial income, facilitating culturally appropriate initiatives to improve the living standards of Pine Ridge residents. On that note, we conclude today's episode. Thank you for joining us once again. We hope you found this video informative and engaging. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content.